Hello, it's Jared McCarthy here with another episode of RozelleTV. I'm here today with Reena Tory from Mantra Wild Adventures.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So Reena, before we get on to talking about your business, can you just tell us a little bit about where you grew up and...
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Grafton, so a bit of a country girl.
Yes.
And I grew up in Sydney. So my mum's background is she is from Fiji, so with an Indian background.
Right.
And so her grandfather came over from India. Oh, well, my grandfather came over from India to Fiji and set up there. So my dad is fourth generation Australian, but of Indian background. So his family came out here in the 1850s.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so quite a long history.
Indeed.
One of the first Indians in Australia. So,
wow, okay. Well, there'll be a few interesting stories from your dad, no doubt.
Yeah, like he's done a lot of research, so he's tried to look into the genealogy of the family and get some information there. So there's quite a long history.
Yes, very good. And so where did you go to school? Did you tell us a little bit about your education?
So I grew up in the western suburbs, so Harris Park, which is very much in Little India now, but back then there was more of the Fijian Indians, Lebanese community, so I grew up there. And my parents separated when I was quite young, so my dad lived in Leichhardt. Right. So I spent many weekends in Leichhardt, in the Rozelle area. He actually lives in Rozelle now. So so I've still got that, had that connection to living in the inner west, on the weekends. And I went to Canada for 4 years. Right, okay. So that was from 24 to 28.
And what did you do in Canada?
Just to backpack and travel, but what I was only meant to be 1 year, and what ended up happening is I loved it so much I wanted to stay, and I got a work permit, so I continued to work there. And my work was in telecommunications, which is totally different to what I do now.
Indeed.
So it was my background is zoology and science.
Right, so where did you study zoology?
At Macquarie Uni.
Right,
fantastic. Here in Sydney. So I loved animals. I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point with animals, but I just wanted to study them. So
you studied animals, then went to Canada and got into the corporate world. Is that kind of what happened? Or?
Sadly, yeah. Yes.
Right, very good.
So there was absolutely no work that I could find in that field, and I just happened to fall into telecommunications and sales. Yes. So I would be one of those annoying people that would call Americans selling long distance plans.
Right, okay.
So, but I did really well with it because I had my accent, so that naturally helped with the sales. So I moved my way up. Very good. And then I loved Canada so much, I just didn't want to leave. So I stayed there for...
But you did leave.
I did.
And where did you go from there?
So I came back to Sydney, started looking for work. Yes. And I found work in telecommunications, of course. And I moved to Pyrmont. So I lived in Pyrmont for 4 years and then moved to Glebe. So I've kind of been in that area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell me this. I'm going to jump to an event that I think 2007 you had an experience in India that changed things for you.
Yeah, so at that point I felt like there was this strong urge to go to India. Yes. And I felt that I really wanted to...
Was this your first time to India?
My first time to India.
Okay, fantastic.
So I felt this urge to experience what was happening. I love tigers. Right. So I really wanted to know what was happening with poaching. I wanted to spend time with local communities, with government organisations and not-for-profits. Right. So it was very clear in my mind that I wanted to go there. So I did a bit of fundraising for my 30th birthday beforehand. So rather than gifts, I asked people to, give money if they wanted to. So I went to India and I spent time with exactly what I
So
mentioned.
sorry, you're fundraising to give some money to the community in India?
Yeah,
Right.
what I wanted to do is I wanted to give money to communities that I felt when I was there that, wow, this is a great organisation, or these guys are doing great work. I just would give it right then and there. So that's
right. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't want to be held up with any red tape with organisations. I just felt that if there was something there, then I would give money.
Fantastic.
So I went there and I spent time with, like I said, local communities, tribal communities, not-for-profits, and one in particular in Assam, which is called Aranyak, and they do amazing work with rhinos and tiger conservation. There's a lot of rhino poaching that happens over there, and so I happened to go on a safari that particular day, and I saw the most beautiful mother and baby rhino.
Yes.
And on our way back, I happened to be driving down a road, and a police officer stopped us, and he told us to head over to a particular direction.
Yes.
And what we discovered was a mother and a baby rhino that had been poached.
Goodness.
So for me, that was, I guess, my turning point to know that, the corporate world, selling long distance plans isn't, helping people with their phone plans wasn't really, in my core.
Yes.
So I started making changes from that point on to do something that I was passionate about, which now is incorporating my love of travel and for people to learn about India by visiting India and also supporting local communities.
Fantastic. Now, tell me, I'm going to jump for a second. Your experience of India, you not alone, you've embraced it in other ways as well. I believe you were a Bollywood dancer. Is that right, or is that just a rumour?
I wouldn't give myself that classification. I did do Indian Bollywood dancing for a couple of years.
Okay. So you immersed yourself completely in the culture.
I did. I really... I actually got that from when I was in Canada, because there was a huge Indian community, and I actually felt like I belonged with that community, and that's where it started. The Bollywood movies, this urge to start going to India, and I've totally embraced it. I've built a business around it now.
And the business is called Mantra Wild Adventures.
Correct, yeah.
The name itself, there's a whole lot in the name, isn't there?
There is.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, Mantra Wild, for me, I actually came up with that name when I was in India in 2010.
Yes.
And there's two sides of my business, which is the wilderness and the wellness.
Right.
And they come together. The mantra meaning a word or a chant that transforms.
Yes.
And I was actually sitting in my lodge in a national park in India, and I just heard these monkeys making these noises, and it was like, wow, these animals have their own calling, their own way that they communicate as well, and Mantra Wild just seemed to fit.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So tell me, what I understand about your business, or I guess one thing for travellers that go overseas, and particularly to places like India, you get the tourist experience, which is not what a lot of people want. Your business is different, isn't it?
It is.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So first off, we don't do group tours.
Right.
I think we do tailored private experiences. So what that allows our clients to do is to get right in there with the culture. We always try and add in like a homestay experience.
Yes.
And there's some beautiful homestays ranging from a 3-star up to a 5-star category, where you can actually spend time with the family and learn about the local culture, learn about the little hidden gems, find out, where do you think is a good place to eat tonight, or, things like that, know, and even have a meal with the family.
Well, one of the things that I guess with many countries, but probably even more particular with India, is that the people are the life and soul of the country. And unless you're kind of in there with them, your holiday is really superficial, I find, when So that changes it, doesn't it?
It does. It does. You know, like when you're visiting places like the Taj Mahal or the Kerala backwaters, it just adds that extra dimension when you maybe stayed a homestay in Agra, or you take a visit to a local market, which we may know about because of that local experience, versus being in a tour group that, you know, you stop here and then you get off the bus and you go here. So it's just adding that extra dimension.
Indeed, indeed. Now you have an event coming up. I do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay,
when it is and what's it about?
So it's on the 14th of September. It's at Rosebud Bar and Restaurant, and it's an evening of bringing India to Sydney. Right. So it's an evening of henna. So we'll have a henna artist there to do your hands if you want to get yours done too. Right. We'll have an Indian classical singer who's one of Australia's best, Hari Bhakti Day. We'll also have Bollywood. Not me, but... Oh, you're not going to get up and... No. I don't think people will pay for that. But we will have some dancers, a 3-course Indian meal.
Beautiful.
And we're also giving away a $1,000 travel voucher for travel to India.
Well, that's a great incentive to come on. But I mean, just the whole experience sounds fantastic.
Definitely.
So that's on September 14th?
Correct. And
how can people get in contact with you?
So there's a few ways if you wanted to book for the event. Yes. The website is called atasteofindia.eventbrite.com.au, or you can go to our website, which is mantrawild.com.au.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It's lovely to have you here. And look, that's it for today. Thank you, viewers, and see you soon.